About 3 weeks ago, the victims of Kiteezi land collapse finally received compensation from the government. This is over 1.5 years after the tragedy left many dead, others displaced, and unimaginable destruction. On the morning of August 10, 2024, the Kiteezi landfill collapsed.
Burying people and houses collapsed following heavy rains.
And I think some of them are still inside there.
More than 1,000 people have lost their homes.
Built to manage Kampala's waste, Kiteezi landfill for decades served a population of more than 4 million people across the capital and neighboring districts. Over time, the site expanded in height and in volume and in risk. Waste and debris that had become higher than some of the country's mountains surged into nearby communities, burying homes and displacing families.
Abantu abafa kizibu obbabala. Waliwo abaali bakola waggulu ekyo. Ekintu bwe kyeyasa ne kivugako abalala. Kati omuwendo gwabo tosobola guteteekanya n'ogumanya.
Search and recovery operations followed very slowly. Only 34 bodies were recovered by the time the search was abandoned after 3 days.
Olunaku olwo Minisita Kabanda yasooka wano sinzanga sitole nga bwe yasooka wano n'atugamba nga bw'ajja tufunira we tulina okubeera ne bafuna ku kyaki eyo Kiteezi ne wagendayo abantu abasobola naye nze nali sisobola ngansi kuba abange nali sinabafuna tosobola kuleka abantu bo badobeera nabo ate ogende mu kampu ng'atalina kyeyafiiriddwa nze ngansi ekyannema era baawandiika be baawandiika n'olunaku lwa Sande ne bawandiika be bawandiika nga nze sigenzeeyo.
Kinnuma eki famire yange mukyala wange kitege mwana wange ate ng'oggyeko ki tubadde tuzimbye.
Kati tusigazize emirambo 8 eyo ekyali mu ggwanika.
Omukazi abaana bali bataano n'abafiiriddemu.
However, residents and local leaders maintain that the true number was higher and may never be known. No official revision to the casualty figure has been issued. For some families, the failure to recover the bodies of their loved ones and the lack of closure have left an open wound.
Ne family yange gye natuulanga nayo nga nfunye ebizibu ne mwogerezeganya ebizibu ne biggwawo ne muteesa ne mucollecting akasente akali nga kati katukole kino saawa eno kateriiwo yagenda tuli mu bulumi bwa njawulo nnyo.
Ne bagamba nti Bank of Uganda baginkwasizza era tasobola kuzzaawo bulamu bw'abaana nga bwe ntukugambye.
As public pressure mounted, 3 senior KCC officials were dismissed and charged with manslaughter.
Today, 2nd May 2025, the Center for Health, Human Rights and Development, CEHAD, has formally instituted proceedings against the Kampala City Authority, KCCA, and the National Environment Management Authority, NEMA, before High Court of Uganda.
So we filed this case challenging government's failure to regulate, but also to protect the right to a clean and safe environment for the residents of the Kiteezi community. We didn't want to duplicate the suit because if we were all chasing compensation, then we lose it along the way. But ours was rights. How do we change? How do we use this case to have change across Uganda? When there's another landfill collapse, this would be an example that they can use. But also, why should we wait for another landfill to collapse? This helps us start to implement good waste management options that can save life, can save property, and avert disaster. Because while they claim it's a natural disaster, it was actually a policy failure, regulatory failure. If they had actually done their part, we wouldn't be here.
By mid-December 2025, compensation payments finally began.
Twatula ebbanga ddene nga tubuuza temulina batubala naye buli muntu mugenda muwa zenkana na munne ne bagamba ekyo tekisoboka tetusobola kuwa muntu sente zenkana na muki na munne kubanga mulimu ayina ekinene mulimu ayina ekitono.
Funds were allocated across defined categories: damaged houses, lost livestock and destroyed businesses.
Gavumenti etutte omwaka gumu n'omusobyo okuba nga batuyirira kasente ako ke batuliyiridde.
I got 38 million and that money I got it on 23rd December.
On the 6th January of this year, I received compensation of 42,300 on my account, which came as a compensation for the house and the property which were damaged in the house.
The final recipients received theirs on January 14, 2026. While one would think that this would bring some relief to the victims and a way to forge ahead, many of them say the compensation does not reflect the scale of what was lost.
Nekyagenda ofundikira okutuwa ssente ng'ate ayina ekitono asinga ayina ekinene.
Nti nze omuntu eyafiirwa ebyange byonna gwe n'ogamba nti ompadde miliyoni 20 ng'ate omuntu eyafunako kuraka ku nnyumba ye nakati ng'akyagisulamu n'omuwa ssente eza damage nti ataleze ennyumba ye n'omuwa miliyoni 7 ku 9 kati awo mba sinzaga nti mba ndi mumativu era mba nkyewuunya ne ngamba bampadde kiki kino kye bampadde.
Tosobola kuddya nnyumba luumu emu n'ogiwa miliyoni 29. Omusajja gundi neiba wange ekyengulu musiraamu yalina ennyumba ezi 3 ayokamuwa miliyoni 29 naye kane w'olumuki emu bali wakyo yavaliwinga ekintu bwe kityo.
Bandirira ssente ntono nnyo okusinziira ku bintu byenafiirwa, embuzi zokka ze nafiirwa n'abantu okubanga nafiirwa abantu nga ne kakati bakyali omu kasasiro. Nze nali mbalirira mu ssente nga mbalira miliyoni nga 2 naye ate kyandewunyisa nnyo okulaba nga bakwata miliyoni 2 zokka ze bakwata ne bampa.
For some, compensation covers only a fraction of their property. For others, it does not account for displacement, lost income, or long-term instability. The administrative process may be complete. For many families, recovery is not. This is mainly because, like many Ugandans, what the victims need most is accountability. For lives and property that would never have been lost, had the individuals and institutions responsible done their job.
Government egamba tegera tubalirira ttaka. Bo bagamba bagenda kujjawo kasasiro ono. Bwe banaamala okujjawo no kasasiro, mbu tulyoke tudde ku mataka gaffe. Ffe kye twetaaga gavumenti ffe tuliyirire lumu. Ekintu kyaffe tuveewo mulundi gumu omanyi nti nkitadde. Naye gwe wafiirwa omuntu ng'akyali wansi osobola okuzimbawo n'osulawo. Ekintu ekisoboka. Buno bulimba bwennyini nakuwuddiisa.
The landfill had been a ticking time bomb for over 15 years. Warnings and memos had been issued. They reference operational strain, they acknowledge capacity pressures, they outline structural and environmental challenges at the site. The Lord Mayor's report reiterates earlier public concerns regarding the landfill stability. The Lord Mayor report on Kiteezi West Slide. In previous statements, he had described Kiteezi as a time bomb. That warning was on record. The reports detail emergency response efforts and outline proposed reforms within the city's waste management system. They define institutional roles and responsibilities. What they do not conclusively determine is whether earlier warnings translated into preventive action. If risks were acknowledged before the collapse, what mitigation measures were implemented and when? That question remains central to public scrutiny. Only 34 bodies were recovered, but for many, more people are said to have died. Community members insist the true number may never be known.
Enyumba nga 50 bazibuutikidde wano. Waliwo kalina wali simanyi bamugirabye egudde, omukyala akyali omu alaajana, ebbugumu lingi, tufiiriddwa abantu be tutannamanya na muwendo.
In disasters, numbers determine recognition, and recognition shapes accountability. For families still seeking closure, the distinction matters. 18 months later, Kiteezi remains a site marked by loss. Compensation has been paid, reports have been issued, reforms have been proposed, but questions persist about what was known, about what was done, and about whether the warnings once recorded were enough to prevent what followed.